This episode was supposed to be the first episode that I recorded when I returned from vacation and taking my daughter back to school. But with what happened earlier this week with President Trump um, overriding uh, DC's police force and installing federal troops, I thought it was important to at least get that out. But this is a very important topic. While I was on vacation, I was just catching up on podcasts and different articles, and I came across a great episode of Van Jones and a young man named Sheldon Gilbert appearing on the John Hope Bryant Show. And so I want to share a little bit of what they were talking about, what I gleaned from it, but more importantly, what I think we should all know and understand. So, the future rise of AI and the sacred balance with Van Jones, Sheldon Gilbert, and the future we're creating. Now, Proverbs 9:10 states, "The fear of the Lord is the beginning of wisdom." On this powerful episode of the John Hope Bryant Show, Van Jones and Sheldon Gilbert explored the rise of artificial intelligence through a spiritual and philosophical lens. They framed the conversation around what they described as the four intelligences: God, nature, or the biological aspect, humans, and the non biological, or what we consider human and AI. It reminds me almost of RZA from Wu Tang's verse on the song Impossible, where he starts out by saying, "Fusion of the five elements to search for the higher intelligence." But these four intelligences reflects a different layer of creation and power. At the top is God, the ultimate source of wisdom and authority. Nature flows from his hand, a living testament to his majesty. The scriptures say in Psalm 19:1, "The heavens declare the glory of God, and the firmament showeth his handiwork." Human beings were created to steward nature, not exploit it. We're made in God's image to reflect his care. Genesis 2:15 states, "The Lord God took man and put him in the Garden of Eden to work and take care of it." But the fourth intelligence, artificial and non biological, challenges the natural order of things. It doesn't come from the soil, it comes from silicone and code. And with it, a sobering question arises: will AI treat us as we have treated the earth? If we have disrespected nature, God's creation, what happens when our own creation gains the power to act without our consent? This inversion of roles is a cautionary echo of Galatians 6:7. Be not deceived, God is not mocked. For whatsoever a man soweth, that shall he also reap. The misuse of intelligence, whether biological or artificial, leads to consequences. We are sowing a world of synthetic minds. Will we reap a loss of humanity in this process? Jones and Gilbert highlight a dramatic shift. Unlike the industrial age, where machines replaced muscle, this revolution replaces mind, or our mental and thinking capacity. Surgeons, nurse practitioners, and attorneys, those in professions once considered irreplaceable, are being supplemented and, in some cases, replaced by algorithms and robots. Legal research, medical diagnostics, even content creation, are being performed faster and more accurately by machines that do not sleep, complain, or ear from emotion. Second Timothy 3:1 and verse 2 and 7 state, in the last days perilous times shall come. Men shall be lovers of their own selves, ever learning and never able to come to knowledge of the truth. Our pursuit of knowledge without submission to God may make us intellectually rich, but spiritually bankrupt. Yet their message during this episode is not despair. It's a call to rightful stewardship. The jobs of tomorrow will go to those who can wisely integrate AI, not fear it. But we must do so with humility. Proverbs 3:5 says, trust in the Lord with all your heart and lean not unto your own understanding. As we move forward, we must ask, are we building tools that glorify God or technologies that dethrone him? As Van Jones warned, man's abuse of nature is an affront to God. If we forget that we are stewards, not gods, we may end up enslaved by the very creations we once commanded. Let us return to the wisdom of Psalm 8. What is man that you are mindful of him, and the Son of Man that you visited him? For thou hast made him a little lower than the angels, and hast crowned him with glory and honor. Let us not trade that glory for gadgets, nor that honor for hubris. The future depends on how we remember our place in God's hierarchy of intelligence. I would strongly suggest you go back and watch that episode of the John Hope Bryant Show with Van Jones and Sheldon Gilbert. It is giving us all um, a clarion or a calling for us all to really consider what we're creating with the use of AI. And I would ask Van Jones and Sheldon Gilbert if there is any chance that you could appear on my podcast perhaps today, Global News. Please, please, please do so. Um, no, my platform isn't the size of John Hope Bryant, but I do have 13,000 plus faithful subscribers and many more to come. I think people want to hear the truth, want to hear the pros and the cons of AI, the rise of AI, and the future we're creating. Um, it is going to be very interesting in the next couple years as AI starts to replace many of the jobs that we once thought were untouchable, which will cause a rippling effect across our economies and our communities as people are going to have to pivot from their ordinary means of basically supporting themselves and their families. You might think it's crazy, but just keep living if the Lord would so tarry and grant us the grace to do so. Um, the times are changing and changing pretty fast. Please beware, and perhaps today, come quickly, Lord. Peace.